guys, my name's Trey and welcome back to another episode of True Crime Tuesday. I don't know why I'm whispering.
Hi guys, I just got my makeup done and it is stunning. It's beautiful. I love it. I don't get my makeup done very regularly, but it is stunning. It's beautiful. Look at it. And my hair, let me show you how gorgeous it is. Okay, it's a bit of a weird situation with the spinny hair. Look. Isn't it gorgeous? Do you guys see that? It's so cute. I love it. I love it. Anyway, hi guys. Welcome back to another episode of True Crime Tuesday, where every Tuesday I sit down with you guys and we hash out a true crime story together. So stories can range from anywhere between murders, disappearances, kidnappings, cults, and more. So if you're a true crime freak like myself, I would highly recommend liking and subscribing and commenting. I'm here for it. But if not, that is totally fine. I am more than happy that you're here with me today, because today we are talking about Timothy Haslett Jr. Now, it's a fairly recent case. And like I said in the past, I don't enjoy doing recent cases, mainly because there's not enough information around them. But it is a really interesting one and I couldn't help myself, guys. Also, how rude of me, I didn't even introduce myself. If you're new to this channel, welcome. My name is Dre. It is so nice to meet you and I hope you stick around. So here we are today. Let's just jump straight into this week's story. Now, this story takes place in Excelsior Springs. Excelsior Springs is located in the US state of Missouri and has a population of about 10K. It's known to be quite friendly and a tight-knit community. On a Friday morning, the 7th of October 2022, a woman by the name of Sierra Tharp was getting ready for her first day at work at a new job, and she called her grandmother to come over to babysit for her child. So her grandma came over to look after her child and she got on a bus to leave for work. On the way to work, Sierra actually gets a phone call from her grandmother and it was frantic, it was chaos, it was not what she was expecting on her first day of work. So immediately Sierra gets off the bus and she treks it back home, only to find a young woman who appeared to look very horrified and traumatized, sitting on her couch in a blanket. According to Sierra's grandmother, this is what happened. And she said that she heard the sound of loud banging on the door. She decided to settle the child and make sure the child was safe and good before she answered the door. She answered the door carefully, only to find a woman who appeared to be horrified and fearing for her life. The woman at the door had pleaded for help. She had claimed that she was taken from Prospect and she was held in a basement where she was bound, she was beaten, and she was raped. The woman was wearing latex lingerie, what looked like a bin bag or a trash bag for you Americans out there. And she had a metal collar around her neck as well as a padlock. So this was actually restricting her breathing. On top of that, she had duct tape around her neck, which looked like she had pulled it down somehow. But yeah, she just looked like she was absolutely horrified. So the grandmother actually later on told reporters that she looked like a victim out of a horror movie. It was terrifying. It was also noted that she had ligature marks around her wrists as well as her ankles. She appeared to be really distressed and kept saying, "Help me, and stating that someone was coming after her to come and kill her. Now, I want you to take a second and imagine with me, if you will. You are at home, chilling with your grandson, granddaughter, or child, whatever, you're chilling at home. And then you hear loud banging on your door, crying and begging for help. Wouldn't a part of you feel somewhat horrified? Like think about it. You see a woman dressed in a bin bag and she's got a metal collar around her neck. She probably looks like she's really distressed. I don't know. I feel like my first instinct would be, oh my goodness, this is a horrifying situation. Now, the grandma obviously prioritized the safety of the child and make sure the child was settled. But she ultimately knew that this young woman desperately needed help, so she actually was one of the first people to take her in. So the grandma had actually brought her in, gave her a blanket, gave her some food to eat while she called 911. The grandma also relayed every bit of information that the woman had told her, and soon enough the police arrived. Now, when the police were on the way to the house, they were super careful to make sure that they had the sirens off and the lights off to ensure that they weren't tipping off the potential kidnapper. Now, when officers arrived, the woman who was kidnapped told them that she was kidnapped by a man by the name of Timothy. Now, she told them that she was picked off Prospect in Kansas City and she was held captive in a basement since the start of September. She told police that the man had built a small room in the basement where she was held and she was kept as a sex slave. Just like the grandmother had said, the police had noticed restraint marks around her ankles as well as her wrist. She also had wounds on her back that was consistent with someone being whipped. She said that she was continuously beaten, whipped, and raped while she was down there. But today, when Timothy was taking his son to school, true enough, she thought this was her one and only chance to escape, and she successfully did it. Now, what was interesting was that she told both the grandma and the police officers that some of her friends did not make it, meaning she wasn't the only victim down there. However, the police really weren't too sure about how many victims would actually be found in that basement. So after police had done the initial questioning, they actually rushed her off to hospital. As she was in the ambulance on the way to the hospital, she was actually able to point out the house that she escaped from. The street address was 301 Orchard Street, and it turns out a man by the name of Timothy Haslett Jr. lived there. Immediately, police put out a BOLO against Tim Haslett Jr. For those of you who don't know, BOLO is an acronym for Be on the Lookout, which is commonly used by the police department. Who is Timothy Haslett, you might ask? Let me tell you. Timothy Haslett Jr. was a 39-year-old man who was the father of an 8-year-old boy. Tim was married in 2013, and 2 years later, he actually divorced his wife. So when he divorced his wife, he actually became the primary custodial parent, and the ex-wife was required to pay $400 a month, mainly because the child primarily lived with Tim. In 2017, he moved to Excelsior Springs, where he worked as a Union Railroad employee. According to sources, he was really passionate about his job and actually really enjoyed it. He worked for M&H Contractors, which is a subcontractor of Kansas City, and they did a lot of rail work and rail maintenance. He has not been employed there since 2020. Now, not much else is really known about him. One of the neighbors said that he would rarely ever see Tim come out, so the only time he did come out was to take his dogs out. One neighbor by the name of Missy Hannock said that he was not very friendly, was sketchy in her words, and also said that he did this really unusual thing of never actually fully opening the garage door. So she said that he would only really have it up until knee height, and then he would like sort of duck underneath to get in and out, which is really bizarre because you're thinking, even if it's super messy, everyone's garage is super messy. Why would you just not walk out? But anyway, she thought that was odd, but there's actually not heaps of information out there about him. Tim had no violent history. There were no reports about him being violent or aggressive. Fast forward to present time, and police were aware that it was only a matter of time before Tim would return home from dropping his son off at school, and then he would find that there was no one in the basement, and they were obviously worried that he would come and just destroy all the evidence that there was in his house. But thank God, after he dropped his son off from school, he was actually pulled over for unrelated charges. It turns out that he had 2 warrants for his arrest and he was taken into custody. Police got a search warrant and then they immediately began to search the home. Now, it being a small-ish town, neighbors were naturally drawn to the drama of this whole situation. So neighbors actually got out their, those chairs you use during barbecues? I don't know what you call them. Anyway, fold-out chairs? Yeah, they began to get the fold-out chairs out, sat down and actually watched the entire thing unfold. Now, one neighbor saw police bring out these massive blue barrels out of the house. Now, what do you think of when you think of barrels? Jeffrey Dahmer, that's right. Ding, ding, ding. If you guessed Jeffrey Dahmer, you are correct, sir. Or ma'am. Anyway, yes. When I think of barrels, I immediately think of Jeffrey Dahmer, and it gives me the heebie-jeebies. Now, to this day, we actually don't know what was in those barrels. Police are actually keeping a very tight lip on what is happening with this situation and with this case. That compounded with what the victim said about her friends not making it. Oh my gosh, I just got heebie-jeebies when I read the case. Yeah, automatically I just thought, my mind just went to the worst place and I'm like, oh my goodness, those poor girls are probably in those barrels. But again, we don't know the information. The police are being really tight-lipped about this case, so we actually don't know, and it's all just speculation. The police started taking out bags and bags of evidence. There were police dogs on the scene to search for more evidence. It was big. It actually took police 3 whole days to remove and collect all the evidence in that house. So news reporters were naturally curious and they asked police if there were multiple victims, but police, like I said earlier, was super tight-lipped and refused to give much information. They said it was an ongoing investigation, and because of this, they couldn't really give out a lot of information. However, what we do know was that it was not looking good for Tim. In fact, police had actually found a bunch of items, including chains, ropes, restraints, whips, as well as handguns. Yep, it's not looking good for him. So 3 days after his arrest, police boarded up the windows of the house. They had set up a chain link fence around the house and had obviously put some tape up to avoid people coming in and destroying potential evidence. On the 11th of October, so 4 days after the woman had escaped from the basement, Timothy had his first hearing in court and he was charged with first-degree kidnapping, first-degree rape, and second-degree assault. The judge had entered a plea of not guilty on his behalf while he waited for a public attorney to be afforded to him. The bond was set for $500,000 with a few conditions. You know, he had GPS monitoring, he was allowed to have no contact with the victim. But if you ask me, I know it's all allegations at that point, but $500K is so little money if what he had done was true or is true. Think about it. If he really did kidnap a woman, keep her there since the start of September, continuously raped her, bound her, restrained her, sexually assaulted her, and if potentially he had killed other women as well, $500K is nothing. That's, I don't know. In my opinion, it was outrageous. Now, it's interesting because at this point, this was not the first time police had actually been to Timothy's home. The police had actually been there a couple of times to conduct welfare checks on Timothy. On the 23rd of November 2021, Timothy's dad had actually called police to do a welfare check on his son after he hadn't heard from him in a while. Another one was done on the 31st of December by allegedly a co-worker who had noticed that he wasn't showing up for work. The third one was in relation to an animal control concern where he had an unfriendly dog who was off leash, and yeah, obviously there were some concerns there. So we don't know who entered the home and when and what potential evidence could have been seen, or if he was even doing it at that time. Yes, but anyway, interesting to know that police had been there before. So all of this happened late 2022. So fast forward to the 11th of January 2023. Police announced that they were looking for a 36-year-old woman who resided in Missouri who may have information that might have helped the investigators. They've been searching for Janie M. Crossdale, but we're unsure if she has been identified and found. We have no idea how she's tied to the case or maybe how she knows the victim, but the police were looking for this woman. I wanted to discuss this because I thought it was super interesting. And I wanted to hear your thoughts on whether or not you think that this is true. Before the victim was found, there was a video posted to social media of someone claiming that there was a serial killer in the area who was targeting women. On the 25th of September 2002, Kansas City Defender posted a video to not only TikTok but other social media platforms claiming that the community was in danger. Now, Bishop Tony Caldwell claims that 4 black girls have been murdered, 3 have been taken, all in a span of a week. The video has been removed, but the video actually makes reference to Prospect, which is where the victim said that she was taken from. Now you might be thinking, who is this Bishop Tony Caldwell and how does he know this information? He is a community leader who is very, very involved in the community. He really supports and empowers vulnerable people in the community and helps them out of these tough situations. And I think it's really natural at times for people in the community to have more trust in a community leader as opposed to the police. He had a lot of street level knowledge and claimed that this was true and that the community was in danger because there was a serial killer out there who was targeting women. So after this whole situation happened with this woman escaping from the basement, people started to put two and two together and maybe realize that Tim Haslett Jr. was the serial killer who was kidnapping and murdering all these black girls in the community. It is also worth mentioning that the victim who escaped was black. Remember what the victim had said about a few of her friends not making it? Potentially, could it have been her friends? We don't know. It's all speculation at this stage, but I think worth a mention. So Prospect, which is the area where the victim claimed that she was taken off, is known to be an area where a lot of sex workers work. It is no secret that sex workers tend to be victimized at a higher rate compared to women who don't do sex work. So it's estimated that women involved in sex work tend to be 60 to 100 times more likely to be murdered than a woman who doesn't. The serial killers tend to look at sex workers as easy targets, mainly because they come from really difficult situations, hard upbringings. They might not have great connections to loved ones or a lot of support from families or friends, meaning that maybe people don't tend to notice when they go missing. So yeah, it's really heartbreaking when you think about it. But in response to this video, the police actually issued a statement saying that it was non-factual and essentially just made up rumors. The statement read, "We are aware of the social media posts circulating regarding the murder of 4 women in Kansas City, Missouri in the past week at the hands of a serial killer and the report of 3 additional women missing. We want to make the public aware that this claim is completely unfounded. There is no basis to support this rumor." So even after the events had unfolded when the woman had escaped from the basement, police never really wavered from this stance and continued to say that that previous video was just based on rumors and not actual evidence. I also watched an interview which was conducted by Hidden True Crime with someone who actually dated Tim Haslett Jr. This woman went by the name of Maggie, and Maggie dated Tim for a period of a few weeks. So apparently they had met on an online dating site and they had been on a few dates together. On some of these dates, she had actually been to his house. She described him as the perfect gentleman with 0 red flags. She said, "Without a real-life victim, I would not have believed this in a million years." According to her, he was really funny, he was really gentleman-like, and was just an all-around good person. Timothy really enjoyed talking about politics, and he sat on the more right-wing conservative side. He enjoyed talking about football. He loved talking about his son as well. According to Maggie, it appeared that his house belonged to someone with a loving family, and his house and kitchen was in immaculate condition. She is not 100% sure if the same house that she had visited was the exact same house that the victim escaped from, but she does recall that 301 Orchard Street sounds familiar. So Maggie had dated Tim 3 years before this whole situation unfolded. When asked why it didn't work out with Tim, she mentioned that it was no one's fault really, and they had just drifted. According to her, her baby daddy was coming back into the picture again, so I think maybe she decided to pursue that path. I don't know, sort of irrelevant. But I don't know, if you ask me, in the interview, it appeared that she was very, very shocked that he had committed this crime. It almost seemed like she didn't actually really believe that he was capable of doing it, which I thought was really interesting. And when she was asked to sort of give her final thoughts, final words, she had essentially said to afford Tim's family the amount of respect that they deserve, mainly because they are going through a lot of shock at the moment as well with all this information coming out about Tim. Tim also had a lot of these Facebook statuses that people were finding and then bringing to light. Some of these statuses are, how do I say this? Maybe showcase that he wasn't the biggest fan of women. One of the statuses that I read that gave me the heebie-jeebies, the creeps, was this status here. He said, "No woman will ever love you the way your mother did. Everything that a woman puts you through is for her survival, but everything that your mother puts you into is for your survival." Now, when I read this, instantly I thought it just felt really uneasy with me, because I thought to myself, okay, is this metaphorical or is this literal? Because when he made the status, it was in September, so allegedly when he had held this woman down in the basement. So is he talking literally or metaphorically? We don't know, but I thought that was super creepy. What scares me the most is that these people walk and live among us. It's like they're your local priest, neighbors, teachers, co-workers. They just appear to be super normal, but they have all these really dark, deep secrets. Sometimes, I don't know if this is paranoid, but sometimes I just think, how many serial killers and rapists have I walked past before without even knowing? So, Timothy was said to be very, very chatty, liked to yapper with the judge a lot, and it got to the point where they actually told him, like, just be aware that anything you say and anything you tell us can be used against you. On top of that, he actually wrote an 8-page letter to the judge. Obviously, when all of this was happening, his ex-wife wanted to get full custody of their son, especially in case if he came out on bond. But he wrote an 8-page letter disagreeing, saying that she was only wanting that for money and that she didn't have the best interest of the child in mind. And he claims that all the charges are simply just allegations and nothing else. He also advocated for himself, saying that he had no violent history or criminal history, which should be considered. Remember how we said initially that he had 3 charges, one for first-degree kidnapping, the other for first-degree rape, and the other for second-degree assault. So that was in relation to the 22-year-old woman during the September-October period of 2022. But get this, since then, in February 2023, those charges have been replaced by a 9-count indictment, which were handed down by the Clay County Grand Jury. So the Clay County prosecuting attorney, Zachary Thompson, announced this. The new charges are as follows. 1 count of first-degree rape, 4 counts of first-degree sodomy, 1 count of first-degree kidnapping, 2 counts of second-degree assault, and 1 count of first-degree endangering the welfare of a child. Wild, crazy, unhinged, it is all of it. It went from 3 counts to 9, and I am dying to hear about all the evidence that they found to back these charges up. Like I said, it's a fairly recent case. We don't have all the information, but you best believe that as soon as I know any more information, I will try to update this case, whether I make it a new video or just put it down in the description box below. But I am keen to hear more about what you guys think. Do you think that video that was made warning community members about a potential serial killer was related to Tim Haslett Jr.? Or do you think it was just rumors? Or do you think it's sort of like an in-between? There was a serial killer, but it's not Tim. I don't know. Let me know what you guys think. I do believe that he is guilty, but just until we have more evidence about what was in those barrels and bags, we just have no idea what they found. Some people say that it's impossible that this is his first time doing it, because it seems that he held her for a month before she actually escaped. So some people believe that he truly has done this before. But let me know what you guys think in the comments below. I am keen to read it. I am always so excited to see people commenting on the video. It brings me so much joy to see conversation sparking. I genuinely appreciate all the love and support you guys have given me, both friends, family, as well as new people that I've met through this true crime YouTube channel. So thank you for making all the way to the end of this video. I appreciate it. I love you guys. With that being said, we come to the end of the video. Sorry, little war moment. But I will see you guys next week with a brand new true crime story. Until then, please stay safe, and I'll be thinking about you guys. Like I said, feel free to comment, like, and subscribe. I love the engagement. I love the conversation, so keep it coming. I love you guys. Stay safe, and I'll see you next week. Bye.